Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and today I've got two of them. In fact, I actually have a third one I'm building up at the moment. We're talking about Geomancer. This is my guide for Geomancer here for 2022, so fully up to date in terms of Hydra and all the rest and how you want to build him. One quick thing before we dive in, we were told, for anyone who's watching this live today when it goes out, we were told that CVC was not going to have personal rewards. But in fact, as you can see in game, it actually does have personal rewards, and they have confirmed it on Discord as well. So yeah, if you're watching this the day it goes live, CVC tomorrow will have personal rewards. So yeah, prepare yourself for that. Right, let's dive in though to Geomancer. I think he is one of the probably the top 3 most wanted epics in the game. I'd say, you know, Man-Eaters and Amitha are probably up there as well, but I'd say Geomancer is probably in that top 3. Let me know what you think. Like, anyone who's sort of newer in the game, once you start to research the game and figure out what the actual best champions are, I'd say Geomancer's got to be up there for you, right? Is he number 1 even? I'm kind of curious. This guy, he does so much so well. The ultimate boss killer, the ultimate clan boss killers in both unkillable, non-unkillable teams, all this sort of stuff. Geomancer can do it all. Let's look at his kit. What makes him work so well? His A1, AoE attack when booked, 40% chance to place, 50% decrease accuracy for 2 turns. Actually a really good move. Now the chance to place it isn't the best, but it's a very useful debuff against some Doom Tower bosses, and definitely against the Hydra. And indeed, against the Hydra, because it's an AoE attack, it hits all the heads. It can proc War Master against all the heads. So it's actually a great A1. His A2, Creeping Petrify, 3-turn cooldown when booked. Removes all buffs from a target enemy, then attacks them. Steals all the buffs if the target's under a HP burn debuff placed by this champion. And it also reduces the cooldown of Quicksand Grasp, which is his A3, by 2 turns if the target is killed by this skill while under HP burn. This is very rare. You're not really ever going to see this part happen. But basically, it's either going to be a buff removal or a buff steal, single target. You actually don't use this all that much. It is very, very useful, though, to have for something like Hydra, where you might have Head of Wrath gives himself increased attack. Geomancer can come and just remove that for you. Or you can remove like the reflect damage, block debuffs off Head of Wrath, all that sort of stuff. So it's very useful, again, for Hydra, but it's kind of something in that situation where you more so use it on manual. You don't necessarily leave him autoing this stuff all that often. Then Quicksand Grasp is A3, 3-turn cooldown when booked, fully depletes target's turn meter, fills this champion's turn meter by the amount the target loses, and has a 100% chance when booked of placing HP burn and a 25% weaken debuff on the target for 3 turns. On a 3-turn cooldown, so basically, you know, permanent uptime on one target if he's the same speed as them effectively. Well, actually, because he steals their turn meter, I guess, even more so. But it's just a really good A3 in general. Very, very useful. Where it really comes into its own, though, is Stoneguard, his passive. All the stuff he has, and by the way, he also has 25% HP in All Battles Aura. All this stuff is great. They're all great moves. But this is what takes him from being just a great champion to being ridiculously good. Like, just insanely good. As I say, Geomancer, in my opinion, is better than half the legendaries in the game. Better than half the Void legendaries in the game. He is nuts. Decrease the damage all allies receive by 15%. That alone is already incredibly good for most of these bosses. But even better than that, it deflects that damage onto each enemy under a HP burn debuff placed by this champion. If there's multiple Geomancers, only one will do this, okay? There's a couple of quirks about how this works. Number 1, if you spread HP burn with a debuff spreader, right? There's champions that can spread debuffs. That does not count as Geomancer having placed those burns. It will count as the debuff spreader as having placed them, so you won't deflect onto them. But you can, for sure, make him run really quickly, give him refresh accessories, and in something like Hydra, he can absolutely get himself HP burn up on multiple heads. When that happens, he deflects the full damage onto each head. Like, it doesn't take the damage and then split it evenly amongst however many heads that you've burned by him. It duplicates the full effect onto each one individually, which means that, yeah, in Hydra, when he is able to get up burns on multiple heads at the same time, his damage just goes through the roof. Now, there's another part of this which is absolutely huge as well. Whenever he is attacked, deflects 30% of the damage instead. That's nice. But when deflecting damage on each enemy hit, 30% chance of dealing additional damage equal to 3% of the target's max HP. And this is why I did some reflect damage testing with Raf Matab in yesterday's Raf Matab showcase, and we found that it just didn't do very much damage to the Hydra. But this is what does all that damage. It's that chance to proc that max HP damage. He actually ends up being an incredibly powerful max HP damage dealer due to this. And it procs quite a lot, especially when there's AoE hits coming in on your team. So it's absolutely insane. And yeah, you put this all together and you've got just this crazy champion. Let's look at his build, and I've got two of them here. So two pretty, oh my god, the freaking thing is bugging out and won't scroll down. Two pretty distinct ways to build them, okay? Two distinct ways. So the crucial thing about him, this is way number one. This is my tanky Geomancer. He's in a deflection set. So this was really designed to beat Bommel. This was going up against Bommel, where that extra tankiness is very important to survive, and that chance to deflect debuffs can deflect Bommel's bombs back on him, which is incredible. Really, really good. Also somewhat useful for Hydra. Not the best one, but it's not bad either. You can deflect decrease attack from Head of Wrath's A1 onto Head of Wrath. Is one useful example of what it can do. Or deflect weaken onto the Head of Suffering is also not bad. That sort of stuff. So it's not bad, but the key of this is really building him tanky. And this is a key with Geomancer in general. Compared to other damage dealers, like an attack-based damage dealer, they're going to need loads of attack, loads of crit rate, loads of crit damage. What does that mean? It means they're not going to have any survivability. Well, Geomancer, he can do most of his damage just by taking hits on the team and deflecting that damage back. So you can build him with speed. He needs good accuracy to land his debuffs. This one's actually a bit low in the accuracy, but he's got good speed and then a good chunk of tankiness. And then really any crit rate or attack or anything like that is just sort of an extra luxury that you don't actually need. So this is build number one. You'll see build number two here is pretty similar. This is the second Geomancer I built. So this is more specifically for Hydra. He needs still some glyphs and things like that. And I don't have the best reflex here. He's got a few 5-star pieces, so there's still room for improvement. But reflex set, extremely, extremely good here. 40% chance to reduce a random skill cooldown. And the idea here is that, well, if we're not using his A2, only thing that can cool down is his A3. So there's a 40% chance whenever he takes a turn to knock a turn off of this, which is really, really useful. It's just going to help him keep this burn up on multiple Hydra heads in this instance, which is excellent. Relentless set. Relentless can do something similar, but it's not quite as good. Relentless set's going to be better on someone like Royal Guard, where you're going to be using multiple abilities. On Geomancer, where we're typically only using his A3, Reflex is going to be a bit better. It's going to also make sure that he doesn't outrun his buffs as much, though he still will when he's with Inquisitor Shamael. Let's jump to the top again. Can you believe it? With this build, you can see that we're a little bit slower, and I actually would be aiming for 230 speed, but there's a couple of other variations. He's squishier, but still reasonably tanky. He actually has pretty good resistance and pretty good accuracy. So the concept here is simply that if we land his decreased accuracy on Head of Mischief, in Hydra, he's going to be able to start resisting it. And in fact, his decreased accuracy, he's going to be able to resist the poisons. He's going to be able to resist almost everything in even Nightmare Hydra with this much resistance. So that's the theory right here. You could easily ditch this resistance, though. That'd be the easiest thing to cut out to crank his survivability a little bit higher. And he actually has a good amount of accuracy, 360. That's a much healthier amount of accuracy. So two different ways to build him. And usually pretty simply, like you're going to be building him. Perception set is a good one to fill it in to give you some accuracy and speed. And he's going to be going in with things like speed boots. He's going to have a HP or defense percentage, gloves or chest. Accuracy on the chest can be very good. I don't know do I have accuracy? I probably do on this one. No, this one's HP percentage, chest, defense percentage, gloves. That's why his accuracy is struggling a little bit here. But you have that flexibility. Now, you also might want to build him a different way, which is for Demon Lord Clan Boss. For Demon Lord Clan Boss, you would want to check a specific guide. So, for example, check out something like this. This is from Deadwood Jedi, 1 key budget unkillable. Look at that, a 1 key team with Geomancer. Now, this was a few months old. It's almost a year old. I see this one from Cold Brew Gaming, which is 4 months old. That might be a better one to look at. That might be a bit more up to date. But you can check them both out, compare them. But typically with a Demon Lord team, you're going to be very much speed tuned. They're going to want a very, very specific speed and perhaps specific stats in the other areas as well, and specific masteries too, just for that Demon Lord team that you're not going to use in any other situation. So if you're using Geomancer for Demon Lord, override any of my build suggestions with the specific suggestions in there. I don't use him in Demon Lord. I've not built him for that, but he's obviously insane for it. My stuff is more optimized for Doom Tower and for Hydra, so bear that in mind. I don't think I mentioned why 230 speed I feel is so important. Most of the Doom Tower bosses are 230 speed, their hardest form. So getting him 230 or above, he should really be 231 plus, you know? But that's a pretty good idea. It's a pretty good idea. And obviously the higher speeds as well, even pushing up to like 250 for Nightmare Hydra at the moment is a really good idea. Now, in terms of masteries, this is basically what we're going to do. There's a little bit of flexibility here, but essentially we want to grab accuracy, even more accuracy, even more accuracy, give him more turn meter when his debuffs expire to help with his speed, Lore of Steel to give him some more base stats from perception sets and stuff, Cycle of Magic, just an extra chance to decrease the cooldown of his burn. This is a Hydra specific thing, really, and some Doom Tower bosses too. Then better chance to place his debuffs for decreased accuracy, and then extending his debuffs, extending the burns, the weakens, the decreased accuracies. Then we're going to send him down the offense tree. Fairly standard stuff. Life Drinker, giving him some healing. That can be quite nice for some survivability. And then obviously just all the way down the left-hand side, which I'm in the way of, to get to War Master, which adds a good chunk of damage to his A1s, really. And then this is kind of optional. Grim Resolve. More damage when low HP. I feel like he tends to be there a bit more often. You could easily give him Heart of Glory, more damage at full HP, or Shield Breaker. It doesn't really matter at that point. And again, you might have different mastery builds if you're building a Demon Lord specific Geomancer. This is really building him for Hydra, for Doom Tower. You can see both of my Geomancers are in the exact same thing. So where does he really shine? Well, there's a few areas. Demon Lord is one of the first ones. It's stuck at 0 seconds here. Always a fun thing. If we look at like the top teams, according to this, the teams of the week against Demon Lord, Ultra Nightmare, who do we see cropping up in nearly every single team? We're seeing lots of Geomancers. And you can see there's different sets here. This is what I'm talking about with you would want to consult a specific guide for a Demon Lord Geomancer. Lifesteal in this case. He's got one set of Immortal. He has Toxic. He has just one of Resilience. This one has Stalwart. So there's lots of different options, but nonetheless, as you can see, Geomancer is cropping up absolutely all over the place. He is so good against the Demon Lord. Number one, in killable teams, so for example, this team right here, they're not unkillable. They do take damage, and they're just mitigating it. The damage mitigation for these killable teams is actually very helpful, and he does, of course, a ton of damage. And then in an unkillable team like this Double Man-Eater team, where they're unkillable, he's still insanely good. He still reflects loads of damage, so he's pretty much your top-tier damage dealer for Demon Lord. I use a Bat-Eater team, so I don't use him for this, but it's obviously very, very good. Now, for Hydra, he's, of course, extremely, extremely good as well. So, for example, did he use him here? Here we go. We've got a 32 million key on Nightmare from Chunk in my clan. And you can see in this team, what do we have? Obviously, we've got Krisk and all the rest, all this good stuff. Geomancer is the number one damage dealer there with the 15 million damage. That's from reflecting all that damage back. There's a particular combo here as well. Obviously, anyone who's watched my videos is going to be aware of it. But when you're against the Head of Torment using Inquisitor Shamael, Geomancer is an excellent one to combo with Inquisitor Shamael. So Shamael actually lies. I'm still working on gearing this one up. Basically, whenever someone is feared, he removes the debuff, but then he actually boosts the person who's in your lead spot, the person who's in your aura spot. He boosts their turn meter, so you put Geomancer in that aura spot. Number one, he has a useful aura for Hydra, but number two, it lets Geomancer just take way more turns than he really should, so he can get his burn up on multiple heads, so then it deflects the damage onto multiple heads, and it just does so much damage. It's absolutely crazy. So he's so good there. And then when we come to Doom Tower, he is insane against most of these bosses as well. And I've got specific videos on several of these. So to give you some examples, we don't see the actual bosses here, but he's incredible against the Nether Spider. He's pretty much the best damage dealer for Nether Spider. We can see here in the clan, most people are using him in global rankings, and this only gets better as you go to the higher difficulties. Geomancer is pretty much the guy For Nether Spider, he's absurd. Like, they killed him in 13 turns. This is only floor 70 in hard, but still, you get the idea. Not really good against Magma, I don't believe. Griffin cleanses himself, so probably not that good there. He's also insane against Eternal Dragon. He's very, very good for that. Not as essential, but still very, very good. I wonder if he's in any of the top teams. Yeah, he's in the fastest team, 11 turns. Geomancer, he is there. He's there as well. Not in every team. As you can see, there's other options, but when we get to floor, this is only floor 40, bear in mind. When we get to floor 120, he becomes so good. Because with these bosses that hit you really hard, he's super tanky. He's very tanky. The harder the bosses hit you, the more damage he reflects onto them. The higher their max HP, the higher his max HP damage procs on that reflection are going to hit. The more that his reducing the damage you take matters as well, makes your team tankier. So he's just insanely good. I'm not going to show you really any much gameplay of him here today. I guess we could show like one quick run here. Let's go up against the Nether Spider here. I don't know if, let's just dive in. I don't know if I have this set up properly. I think I do. We'll just take manual control when we get to the boss so I can show it to you properly. I think for these waves, I actually turned off his A3. So he's just going to be doing his A1 really and proccing War Master and helping us clear through these waves a little bit faster. But you'll see how insane he is when he gets to... In fact, let me pause this and I'll unpause it when we get to the boss so you can just see him against the boss. Okay, so here we are. We're coming to the boss. I put it back on manual. I left on auto by accident. Here we go. We're back for round 2 with it actually on manual this time. Amazing. And this is... Okay, let me actually explain how the whole team works. So obviously this spider, he does tons of AoE damage. We're going to use Astrolon. His passive jumps him up in the turn meter, and he's going to AoE stun these spiderlings. Then Brogny's going to shield us, and the shield reflects some damage for some extra. Then Geomancer is going to burn the boss, and you're going to see now whenever this boss starts hitting us, decreased defense from Astrolon's quite nice as well. It's he's going to do a ton of damage to himself, and then we are going to throw debuffs onto the boss, these poisons, with Helior, which is kind of nice, helps us stay alive. And then Geomancer's just going to A1. One thing that can go wrong for me in this lower difficulty is Brogny. Brogny can burn on his A1, so I intentionally have Brogny built with not enough accuracy for that to be a problem on the other difficulties. Let's just not attack the boss as much as we can, and you'll see whenever he's attacking us that it sort of does the job. We just need to be careful of these spiderlings running out of their stun. And then wrecking us. So we just need to be careful of that. Here we go. Bonk. Let's just smack this one. Try kill this off. There we go. They're going to die to the burns. Lovely. And you can see these big chunks. Look at that. Big chunks coming out of him whenever he does this move. We need to reapply the burn with Geomancer. And all that chunky damage is coming from Geomancer. We're going to finish off this spiderling here as well. There we go. And smack this boss some more. There's lots of other variants of this team you can use, like a Venomage. Venomage team is really good too, where you actually let them counterattack you, but you've placed a heal reduction on the boss, so he can't actually heal. Lots of different variants. This is the one that I use, because I just happen to have the champions ready to go, pretty much. And you can see, look at that. Look at all those procs coming out. Absolutely insane. Hopefully we land the stuns. We did. Okay, good. And now we're pretty much good to go. We just have to watch out that Brogny won't burn the boss. That would be bad if that happened. And yeah, that's basically it. We can put a little bit of a shield here from our boy Helior. Thanks, Helior. We can A1 the boss. Boom. Another big chunk. It's just these big chunks being ripped out of him. We're going to HP burn again just to make sure that we have that burn on. You can see we actually refresh accessory proc. Not too important. A1, decrease defense just so we hit a little bit harder. And that should basically be it. Now, the only thing to watch out for here is when these spiderlings, when the stuns wear off, we might want to save our A2 with Geomancer to hit him. But that's sort of... careful not to burn him with Brogny on this difficulty. That's sort of incidental, but this gives you an idea, just that the power of the reflect, right? That's just A2 with him, huh? Didn't hit as hard as I thought it might. Okay, so like right here, we don't want to trigger these counterattacks, so that's A2. And just A1. Don't burn him, you jerk. Good. You A1, and now he's just going to kill himself. But it really is that simple. And basically, we're doing a bit of damage with Helior throwing these poisons back. But most of this damage is just coming, bam, from Geomancer. Look at this. At the end of that run, Geomancer 6.6 million. He's not hitting very hard himself. He does a bit. But it's really all that damage coming from reflecting and deflecting that damage, and the max HP proc. That's really the big thing. It's the chance to proc that max HP damage. That is what is so good against these bosses. And that works against Hydra, Demon Lord, half the Doom Tower bosses. He's particularly good for Nether Spider, Eternal Dragon. He's extremely good for Eternal Dragon. Extremely good for Bommel. I'd say they're like the big three. The big three. He could probably be good against the Scarab, but I've never used him for that. Wouldn't be good against Magma Dragon, really. Magma Dragon heals himself when he's burned, and you just provoke him. He doesn't really do enough damage anyway. Griffin cleanses himself. Dark Fae, you wouldn't use Geo. But, like, still, that's 3 of the Doom Tower bosses where not only is he a great damage dealer, I'd say he's actually the best. He is the best damage dealer for Nether Spider, for Bommel, the best for Eternal Dragon as well, which is a huge deal. It's a really big help. It makes these fights so much easier, and these can be really tough fights on Doom Tower hard. They can be a big block to you. He gets you through them quickly, consistently, safely. Not to mention when we come to Hydra, I'm not going to show you Hydra gameplay. There's a million videos on my channel already of Geomancer Hydra gameplay. And in fact, there's several for those Doom Tower bosses where you can check it out as well, where specific Geomancer teams for those bosses too. So we'll keep this video short and sweet. That was Geomancer, guys. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I will see you all next time for more. Bye-bye.